They say a worm can eat its body weight in food every day. But what would it eat if it was big? Really big. Like 30 feet. In March of 1980, the Bureau of Land Management Field Office at Barstow, California, received a very strange call. A man had sighted a worm he estimated at 30 feet long out in the desert behind his house. That's a big worm. Any lover of science fiction is familiar with the lore of giant worms. Gigantic monsters who burrow under the sand of earthly deserts and barren alien planets. But do they have a connection to the purported giant worm of the Mojave? In prehistoric times, we had giant worms over 3 feet long that ate fish and had huge snapping jaws. But these lived in ancient oceans and not deserts. In more modern times, we have tales of the Mongolian death worm that is said to live in the Gobi Desert, reported to be over 2 feet long and so poisonous that just touching it brings instant death. But none have ever been captured or recorded by modern science. In America, we have many tales and legends of giant snakes, from the giant snake of the Navajo to the many huge rattlers killed by early settlers and cowboys that the newspapers of the times labeled monsters and giants. But what about worms? Well, when going through the archives, I did find numerous stories of giant worms. Just not where you'd want to look. Yep, giant tapeworms. Huge intestinal wrigglers up to 64 feet long, like the ones found in this poor guy. Or the 47-footer that popped out of this unfortunate individual. Along with the ads for the horrible concoctions offered to kill the slimy beasts. But crawling in the desert? Now you can only imagine what the BLM office thought about the call I mentioned earlier. But, to their credit, they didn't laugh it off. They actually sent a man out to investigate. The caller had claimed the worm to be over 30 feet long and still outside his house. When the scientists from the BLM got there, the caller, a local attorney named Stanford Shaw, directed him to a portion of the Mojave River, a small waterway that flowed through the desert behind his house. There, tangled in some rushes on the bank, the startled scientists did indeed find the giant worm. Or at least what had been reported to be the beast. But instead of a huge thick monster, he found something that more resembled a huge tapeworm. So had it come from the tortured guts of some poor human? Thankfully, no. And when analyzed, it wasn't even found to be an actual worm. But what it was and where it had come from was stranger still. The answer? This guy, the western desert toad. Apparently the toads lay their clutches of eggs in an available waterway, and the clutches of sticky eggs clump together to form long strings, some up to 30 feet long. The giant worm of the Mojave turned out to be not a huge monster as reported, but a string of simple toad eggs. Well, I guess that's one less monster we got to worry about. I'm ML Behrman. This is Mojave Mysteries. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, ML Behrman here. I'd like to cordially invite you to join the channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really does help. Thanks.